I didn't believe it at first either. That there were powers not limited to this world. That beyond the physical, beyond the mind, beyond even the soul as we understand it, there are forces, laws, and frequencies that govern reality across dimensions. But once you touch them, you can't unsee. You can't go back. And you'll never again confuse temporary power with true power. What I'm about to share with you isn't just theory. It's not just something I read in a book or heard from another teacher. It's something I've lived. These 7 spiritual powers aren't tied to religion, culture, or even time. They're woven into the architecture of existence itself. They work in this realm, the astral, the causal, the energetic, the dream, the void, and even the unspeakable dimensions you've only visited in silence. These are the constants, the laws of the awakened. And once you align with them, everything, your reality, your energy, your path, begins to shift in impossible ways. We've been taught to look for power in achievement, in image, in control. But real spiritual power doesn't scream. It doesn't flex. It doesn't dominate. It radiates. It shifts. It remembers. And these 7 powers are not limited by space or form. If you cultivate them here, they activate everywhere, in every lifetime, in every realm, even in the ones you haven't consciously remembered yet. That's the beauty of this. You don't need to master a million techniques. You just need to remember these 7 principles and live them. But don't expect them to be comfortable. These powers demand truth. They demand energetic clarity. They demand that you stop pretending you're powerless. Because the moment you activate even one of them, your entire life becomes a mirror. You'll see who you really are and who you've been pretending to be. The first of these is presence, not mindfulness, not focus. Presence. The kind of presence that bends time, the kind of presence that silences chaos, the kind of presence that makes spirits pause and take notice. Presence is the first spiritual power because it is the bridge between dimensions. When you are fully present, you are no longer bound by linear time. You collapse timelines. You access parallel versions of yourself. You receive guidance from realms beyond thought. And you don't have to speak to shift a room, you just show up. Most people don't know this, but in the higher dimensions, words are almost irrelevant. It is your field that speaks, and your field is shaped by your presence. If you've ever walked into a room and changed the energy without trying, if people have told you they feel safe just being near you, you've already tasted this power. But presence doesn't come cheap. You have to stop running. You have to stop leaking energy into the past and the future. You have to stop outsourcing your awareness to screens, opinions, and distraction. You have to meet yourself naked, without roles, without performance, without applause. And that's terrifying for most people, which is why they never develop this power. But you, if you're watching this, you're not most people. You're remembering. And presence is how it begins. So ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly here? Not reacting, not planning, not scanning for what might go wrong, but fully, completely, now? The second power is stillness. Not just external stillness, but inner stillness. The kind of stillness that becomes a portal, a vortex, a throne. In higher dimensions, stillness is not passive. It is command. It is sovereignty. It is the refusal to be moved by illusion. When you cultivate stillness, you become the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane, the grounded presence that other beings, seen and unseen, orient themselves around. Stillness is not the absence of thought. It is the mastery of attention, the ability to sit in the center of your being, no matter what is happening around you, and hold your vibration without collapsing. Most people panic when nothing is happening. They see silence as emptiness, but we see it as a throne, a force, a weapon. Because true stillness is magnetic, it draws answers, visions, guidance, and timelines toward it. Stillness is also how you access the Akashic, the field of encoded memory across dimensions. When your mind stops scrambling, your soul starts speaking. And this is where it gets wild. Because in stillness, you don't just find peace, you find power. The power to rewrite your narrative. The power to step outside the karmic loops. The power to command energies that are older than the stars. But you can't fake stillness. You have to earn it. You have to sit with the chaos long enough to see through it. You have to stop trying to escape discomfort and instead love it into silence. Ask yourself now, can you sit in the presence of your own being without needing to fix, change, or escape it? The third power is truth resonance. This one is subtle, but it operates at every level of reality. In all dimensional systems, truth has a frequency. When you speak, live, and embody truth, your field begins to harmonize with universal intelligence. You become a tuning fork, and everything that is false within you and around you starts to shake, fall away, or get exposed. This is why truth is feared, because it dissolves illusion. And in many dimensions, illusion is currency. Whole systems are built on it. But when you become a being of truth, you no longer need to fight illusion. You simply exist, and in doing so, you disrupt. Truth isn't a concept, it's an energy. And the more you align with it, the more you become undeniable. Have you ever been around someone who spoke with such clarity, such honesty, that it felt like lightning in your body? That's truth resonance. And it's not always comfortable, but it's always liberating. And when you start to live in alignment with this energy, your life begins to change rapidly, because you're no longer compatible with distortion. People who can't face themselves will leave. Situations built on lies will collapse. But what remains will be real. And in the higher dimensions, only what is real can evolve. Everything else recycles. So ask yourself, what in your life still requires you to lie to yourself just to keep it alive? The fourth power is energetic integrity. Across all dimensions, energy is the true currency. Not money, not time, not attention. Energy. And integrity is the key to sustaining it. This power is about alignment, not with morality, but with vibration. You can't fake your frequency. You are always broadcasting. And everything in your life, your relationships, your health, your opportunities, is responding to what you're really radiating. Not what you pretend, not what you post, but what your field carries. Energetic integrity means you live in a way that your soul agrees with. You don't betray yourself to fit in. You don't shrink your truth to be accepted. You don't override your intuition to avoid discomfort. You walk your talk even when it costs you. And here's the twist. When you live in energetic integrity, you become unstealable. Your power can't be siphoned. Your field becomes sealed. Your energy becomes a fortress. Entities can't hijack your thoughts. People can't guilt trip your choices. You stop leaking and you start amplifying. That's why this power is feared by control systems, because a being in integrity cannot be manipulated. So ask yourself, where are you still leaking energy trying to be who they want you to be? And what would your life feel like if you stopped compromising with your own soul? The dimensional codes of light, command, and infinite access. By now, you've already started to feel the shift. These powers aren't just ideas, they're activations. They reach into you, stir something ancient in your DNA, and begin to awaken memory. Not memory of this life, but memory of your original nature. And as we move into the final 3 spiritual powers that exist across all dimensions, we're not just going deeper, we're going higher. These next 3 aren't just about navigating this realm. They're about commanding reality across timelines. They're the powers that allow you to bend the illusion, access intelligence beyond space, and become a conscious participant in the evolution of the cosmos. The 5th spiritual power is light embodiment. This is not love and light as a trendy hashtag. This is pure photonic awareness, the ability to translate divine intelligence into form. In higher dimensions, light is not just illumination, it's instruction. It's code. When you embody light, you are not just glowing, you are transmitting. You become a living signal, broadcasting frequencies that heal, awaken, and restructure fields. But here's the part no one tells you. To embody light, you must first walk through darkness. Because only those who have been shattered can carry light without distortion. If the vessel hasn't been purified, the light becomes filtered through ego, becomes performance, becomes manipulation. So when we talk about light embodiment, we're not talking about perfection. We're talking about purity, a clear channel, a soul that has become translucent enough to carry divine frequencies without bending them for personal gain. In this state, you don't have to prove your light. You don't even need to speak. Your presence heals. Your words recalibrate. Your eyes transmit codes. People will forget what you said, but they won't forget how they felt when they were near you, because you weren't just talking, you were transmitting. Light isn't something you find. It's something you become after you've emptied yourself of everything that isn't real. And here's something wild. In the higher realms, when councils and advanced beings assess a soul's evolution, they don't look at your achievements. They look at your light quotient. How much light can your field hold without distortion? How much truth can you carry without collapsing? And how much love can you radiate without needing anything in return? That's the measure. That's the power. So ask yourself now, what parts of you are still resisting the light you came to embody? Where do you still believe you have to earn what you already are? The 6th spiritual power is command. This one is misunderstood because in the lower dimensions, command has been associated with dominance, control, or ego. But true spiritual command is alignment with divine will. It is the ability to speak reality into coherence because your field is already aligned with truth. In the higher planes, words create, intention sculpts, vibration summons. And when you are in integrity, you can command not from force, but from clarity. You say it and it is done. You don't beg, you don't wish, you don't hope, you declare. Because you know who you are. Command is the power to cut through illusion, to say no to what is false and yes to what is real, and to have the universe respond. But command doesn't come from the throat. It comes from the core, your solar plexus, your will center. The place where ego and divinity meet and wrestle. If you haven't claimed your will, you can't command. If you're still outsourcing your authority to systems, people, or narratives, you will speak and nothing will move. But when you reclaim your divine right to shape your field, and when you align your will with the intelligence of the cosmos, your voice becomes a tool of divine restructuring. You've seen this, even if you haven't named it. That person who walks in and just knows, who speaks and the room goes silent. Not because they're loud, but because they're clear. That's command. And you have it. You've just been told to suppress it, to be polite, to be small, to be safe. But your voice is not here to be tamed. It's here to recalibrate timelines. So I ask you, what have you been unwilling to say out loud because deep down you know it will change everything? And now we come to the seventh and final spiritual power that exists across all dimensions: access. This is the power of unlocked remembrance, of being able to retrieve information, healing, blueprints, and solutions from anywhere, because you've remembered how to access the field. Access is the culmination of all the other powers. When you are present, still, aligned with truth, energetically whole, embodying light, and in command of your will, you unlock the gates of universal intelligence. You become a conscious participant in the quantum library of all that is. This is where miracles live. This is where downloads come from. This is where you stop being a seeker and start being a co-creator. Access is not about privilege. It's about permission. And that permission is granted by your own soul when it knows you're ready. When you've proven that you will not use what you retrieve to inflate your ego or manipulate others. When you've shown that you can handle truth without reacting, collapsing, or running. Then, and only then, the field opens, and you begin to receive with clarity. You'll be walking, and a sentence will drop into your awareness that changes someone's life. You'll be dreaming, and you'll see a map of your future. You'll be meditating, and you'll suddenly understand a paradox that used to confuse you for years. This is not imagination. This is access, and it is your birthright. But access is also responsibility, because once you see, you can't unsee. Once you know, you can't unknow. Once you remember, you are now accountable to what you carry. This is why so few people want true access, because it changes your life forever. You're no longer innocent. You're no longer asleep. You are activated. And everything you do from that point must be in alignment with what you've received, or the channel begins to close, not out of punishment, but out of energetic law. So ask yourself now, what are you truly ready to remember? What have you been avoiding because deep down, you sense that once you know, you'll never again be able to pretend? These seven spiritual powers, presence, stillness, truth, resonance, energetic integrity, light embodiment, command, and access, are not spiritual tips. They are keys. They work in this world and every other. They are the backbone of all spiritual mastery, across all timelines, all frequencies, all incarnations. And if you train yourself to live in alignment with them, you begin to move through reality differently. You stop reacting. You start creating. You stop fearing. You start remembering. And suddenly, this world feels less like a trap and more like a test, a training ground, a game for the soul who dares to remember its own infinite nature. The Multidimensional Awakening. What happens when you activate all seven powers? When all seven spiritual powers are activated within you, something irreversible begins. You don't just change, you shift dimensions, not metaphorically. Literally, you start living in a version of Earth that reflects your inner coherence. You may still walk the same streets, speak the same language, and interact with the same people, but the frequency of your experience becomes entirely different. You've moved from reaction to resonance, from survival to creation, from linear time to quantum flow. This is what awakening actually means, not just realizing you are more than a body, but realizing you are a conscious architect of reality across all timelines. And that realization changes everything. The veil between dimensions thins. You start to notice how thoughts ripple into form, how people telepathically respond to energy before words are spoken, how synchronicity becomes the new logic. You've entered the field of multidimensional awareness, and there's no going back. But with that expansion comes a paradox. You become more invisible and more impactful at the same time. People may not understand you anymore. Old friends might say you've changed, grown distant, strange. That's because they're still operating on the old frequency, and your field is now attuned to a different octave of existence. You're not better, you're just tuned. You're operating from a different law, and if you try to shrink back to make others comfortable, you'll feel it immediately. Your energy will crash. Your body will ache. Your soul will protest. Because once you've tasted multidimensional power, anything less than truth feels like poison. You're no longer allowed to betray yourself. That's the price and the privilege of awakening. You now feel when you're off course. You know when you've compromised. And life no longer lets you ignore that knowing because you've remembered too much. You also begin to notice something strange. You're being watched. Not by people, but by consciousness itself. In higher dimensions, there are intelligences, some ancient, some formless, some beyond definition, that begin to observe you. Not in judgment, but in recognition. They see that you've activated the codes. They see that you're remembering, and they begin to assist you. Not with loud signs, but with subtle alignments. The right person shows up. The book falls off the shelf. The idea downloads at 3:33 a.m. These are not coincidences. They are responses. You're no longer just a student of life. You're in conversation with it. And the more you trust that language, the faster it accelerates. This is what ancient mystics called the hidden hand, or divine orchestration. But you don't need a name for it. You'll feel it. And it will feel like the universe is conspiring to awaken you deeper and deeper, because it is. As you stabilize in this new state, your very being becomes medicine. People heal around you without knowing why. They confess things they've never said out loud. They begin to shift just by being in your presence. This isn't magic, it's field dynamics. Your frequency becomes a mirror, and others start to see themselves more clearly in your reflection. Some will run, some will attack, but the ones who are ready, they will awaken. And you'll know you're doing it right, not because of applause or fame, but because of the purity of your impact. No manipulation, no performance. Just truth, transmitted through presence. And that's when you truly understand your life is your initiation. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every moment of doubt, it was all preparing you to hold this level of power with love, truth, and humility. And now you're ready. But here's something most won't tell you. Awakening all 7 powers doesn't make life easier. It makes it clearer. You'll still face pain. You'll still be tested, but you'll no longer be confused. You'll no longer be lost, because now you see with the eyes of the soul. You understand that every trigger is a teacher. Every delay is a design. Every loss is a recalibration. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this awakening in me? You stop negotiating with destiny and start collaborating with it. And as a result, your energy becomes unmistakable. You walk into a room and time bends. People look twice, not because of how you look, but because of what you carry. You've become a portal, a bridge between worlds. And even if no one understands you, the universe does. And it will move mountains to support your alignment. You'll also begin to remember your soul work, not your career, not your goals, your function in the tapestry of existence. You might be a stabilizer, holding the peace in chaotic places. You might be a disruptor, dismantling systems with your truth. You might be a transmitter, a healer, a code bringer, a way shower, a grid worker, a dream seeder. These aren't jobs. They're frequencies. And when you align with yours, your life becomes a conduit for something much larger than personal ambition. You stop chasing purpose and start embodying it. And the irony is, that's when life starts to flow. Opportunities find you. Resources align. People call your name not because you shouted, but because your soul whispered to theirs across time. And they remembered you. Because you've done this before. Many, many times. And finally, when all 7 powers are alive in you, you become unshakable. Not because life stops shaking, but because your roots go deeper than the storm. You stop trying to escape this world and instead become a force within it. You don't need to ascend, you descend your consciousness into matter. You anchor the divine into the mundane. You walk as light through shadow. And in doing so, you become the rarest kind of being, an integrated master. Not floating in the clouds, but grounded in the body, connected to the earth, in love with humanity, even in its chaos. Because you remember, you came here by choice. You're not here to escape. You're here to activate. And now that you have, the real work begins. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped pretending to be smaller than you are? What would change if you trusted the power already encoded in your soul? What would happen if you lived every day as if you were already awake across all dimensions? Because the truth is, you are. You've just forgotten. But now, you remember. And now the transmission continues, not as a story, not as entertainment, but as an invitation. Because if you're still here, it means something ancient in you has already said yes. Not the surface level you, not the ego hungry for spiritual labels, but the eternal you, the one who has walked through galaxies, incarnated through dimensions, and chosen this exact moment in time to remember. This is the moment where the journey leaves the page, the screen, the words, and enters your life. What you do from here determines the timelines you activate. Because knowledge is not power, embodiment is. And the universe responds to what you become, not what you believe. So the question now is not, did this resonate? The question is, will you live in alignment with what you now know? The first thing that will happen when you begin to live these 7 powers is resistance from the world, from your mind, from your nervous system. Because everything around you has been built on the version of you who forgot. The moment you remember, the old structures begin to shake. Relationship dynamics shift. Career paths dissolve. Your body starts recalibrating. The people who once loved your compliance may now fear your clarity. That's not punishment, that's physics. When you raise your vibration, anything not in resonance must rise, adapt, or leave. This is where most people fall back asleep. They confuse the death of the false with failure. But you will stay awake. You will hold steady. You will trust that the storm is not chaos, it's clearing. And if you can stay anchored through this phase, you will emerge on the other side unrecognizable. As you continue, you'll begin to feel time differently. Not as a linear sequence, but as a living intelligence. You'll start to sense that past and future are not fixed, but pliable. You'll receive glimpses of other versions of yourself, some more evolved, some still learning. And you'll realize that these aren't fantasies. They are realities, vibrating on different frequencies, waiting for you to merge with them through choice, action, and alignment. This is the gift of access, the 7th power. And it's here that you begin to consciously collapse timelines. You forgive someone, and an illness disappears. You speak your truth, and a financial door opens. You choose love over fear, and you shift into a version of Earth where peace is possible. This is no longer metaphysical theory. It's dimensional mechanics, and you're learning to drive it. There will be moments of vast silence, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is aligning. You'll go through phases where friends fall away, where opportunities dry up, where the world seems quieter than ever before. And you might wonder, did I get it wrong? No, you got it right. You're in what mystics call the sacred pause, a vibrational void where your old life has collapsed but your new one hasn't yet materialized. This is the most dangerous part of the awakening process, not because it's filled with darkness, but because it's filled with nothing. And in that nothingness, your ego will try to rebuild the old. But if you can trust the pause, if you can stay with the stillness, you will emerge into a frequency so elevated, you'll barely recognize the version of you who doubted. Then comes the embodiment, the real work, not the flashy kind, not the spiritual influencer kind, the daily, humble, often invisible kind. You start waking up and choosing presence before your phone. You start speaking truth even when your voice shakes. You start honoring your energy even when it disappoints others. You start listening to your body. You trust your dreams. You follow the nudges. You say no without guilt. You say yes without fear. And slowly, day by day, you become the living transmission. People won't always understand why they feel different around you, why they feel safe, why they feel safe. But you'll know, you're not just talking about the 7 powers anymore. You're walking them. And that changes everything. From this place, you'll start to meet others like you, not through algorithms or trends, but through resonance. You'll find yourself in conversations that feel like coded reunions. You'll meet eyes with strangers who feel like old friends. You'll be drawn to places you've never been, and when you get there, it will feel like home. This is the network activating, the grid of awakened ones who've remembered their part in the great unfolding. You'll realize you're not alone. You never were. And as more of us awaken, the grid strengthens, the collective field shifts, and Earth itself begins to rise. This is not just your awakening, it's ours. And your courage to live it fully is what gives the rest of us permission to remember. And finally, you'll come to a quiet, sacred realization. You are the mystery you've been seeking, not the texts, not the teachers, not the temples. You, your life, your breath, your choices, your field. You'll understand that God is not up there, it's right here, pulsing through your cells, speaking through your intuition, moving through every moment. You'll stop seeking and start seeing. You'll stop performing and start being. And in that being, you'll return to the most ancient truth of all. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. And that ocean is waking up.